Thanks, Zoom. Um, so I wanted to start off by like I don't have like a relaxed question to start off by. So I'm gonna start with has there been any time you wanted to like you've been so mad you wanted to quit developing the game?
That's a very point question to start with.
Yeah.
Um Honestly, like the only time I think I can think of has been probably in the last year, and it's all like related to the recent developments in software development and AI related stuff. Um yeah, like I don't know how deep you want me to go into this, but basically like since we've we've open sourced everything in the game now, and I always feel like that was a mistake to some point, to some level, and I don't know where the actual the point of wanting to like potentially stop development but yeah, basically we've had a lot of people contributing to the project, as not actual developers, but as drivers of Claude Code or one of the other AI solutions out there. And it's quite frustrating to deal with as a maintainer of an open source project. Really makes you like rethink everything you've done to date.
Interesting. Do you ever see yourself like using AI agents or like what's the like AI policy around us, especially like laser?
Yeah, so we have a zero AI policy. We don't use anything beyond we don't use anything beyond standard IntelliSense. So like Visual Studio style completes the next word based on what you're typing.
I see. I see. Okay. By the way, like if anyone wants to start asking some of their questions, raise your hands. I'll try to pick the first person who raises their hand. Okay. Yeah. So Xiang Kun, go ahead.
All right, so this is a bit of a backstory, Pepe. What made you play or make O's in the first place? I seen that I've heard people that you're I don't know from a supermarket while you're playing at a DS, but what made you drag down into that game and start developing for PC?
Yeah, well that's the backstory exactly. I was working at a supermarket, and I don't know how relevant that is to the story, but basically at that time in my life we did like LAN parties, so everyone would get together basically every weekend. I actually my dad helped me build like a custom decked out basement in our house. It was used for storage and stuff, but we basically cleared that out and built it up to be a LAN center. So we'd have like between 8 and 20 people bring their PCs around, all my friends in real life, and we would just game sometimes for up to like 7 days with very little sleep and a lot of sugar and caffeine. And during that period, like the Nintendo DS got released, and being in Australia, like we get like a limited quantity of games, like even for Western releases on Nintendo systems, we would only get the European region, or sometimes like even less than that in Australia because it's all regional releases. So we would download like every ROM available. This is after the Nintendo DS had like flash cards, so you could load your own games on. Um, my camera is doing weird things. And yeah, so one of my friends just like got every game from Japan, and we went through them. We at this point we didn't really understand Japanese, but there was a lot of interesting stuff that we've never seen before. And Os Tatakai Oendan was one of those games that came up, and it was just like, I don't know how many of you have played the original game, but you get into it and it's just it's so like zany. It has a cool story.
Yeah, I
Quite
have. Yeah.
yeah, quite a shallow story, but yeah, it was just something we hadn't seen before, and it had us hooked. We were playing like it had a like a two-player mode as well, so we were all playing that, going for the highest scores, and yeah, I was pretty addicted to it for for a time, and that's like the supermarket story is that I used to play it in my lunch breaks on my Nintendo DS, and then I'd go back to working at the register, and the background music was always like the top hits of the times. It was just like a radio feed, Spotify these days, but that didn't exist back then. Um, and I would hear all the music, and like in my mind, all I could see is like all the hit circles and the sliders on screen in time, and I could hear the audio feedback. I was like, oh, I need to make something basic where I can just like, get my ideas on the screen. And yeah, that's where it started.
All right. Does anyone else have other questions, or are we going with Alex's? Oh, yeah. Go ahead, Max.
Yeah, you can hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay, so basically, I wanted to ask, like, what brought you into like development and like coding and stuff like this? Like, what made you like, I have to do this myself? Like, did you have like any prior experience with computers and coding and stuff like this? And how did you start with it, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Good question. I started like getting very interested in technology when I was like 4 years old. I used to like crawl around. I think floor is a bit tall for crawling. Anyway, my mum at some point gave my dad a Commodore 64, one of the really old personal computers back in the day, for his birthday, and he kind of didn't end up using it much, but I did. I would get my mum to read through. Basically, back then when you got a PC, you would get a instruction manual with it. It's like a 500 page like thick book, and it has like example programs you could actually type in when the PC started, basic programming language. And yeah, that's kind of where I got started with programming. I would just be like eventually just typing out the programs myself, and from there I picked up on it and started making the most basic games you could think of. Pun not intended there. That would be like text-based adventure games, and it was very hard to make graphics happen on screen. So I was, just exploring what I could do at the times. And yeah, then from there I got my first like MS-DOS PC and onto Windows 3.1, and I was always following, for whatever reason, games really interested me. I think that was just like the Commodore 64 was an amazing gaming system. Like there was some high quality games on there. And I didn't really own consoles as a kid, but one of my friends did, and I was always watching him play games. And yeah, I think that's kind of where I wanted to always make my own games. So from that point, like I could keep going on, but basically, the first real graphical games I made on the PC platform was using a program called Click and Play. And that was like a UI based. You could like drag and drop elements into their system, and they had like what I can best describe as like a spreadsheet where you could create behaviors for different sprites in the game and add audio to it, and yeah, make games basically come to life. And that turned into the Games Factory, and that turned into Click and Create, which was like, if anyone remembers Macromedia Flash, it was something slightly before that, which did similar things, but it was actually much more powerful in some ways. I think it may have even merged with Macromedia, the company that made Flash. It did go on for quite a bit of time, but yeah. Yeah, so that's where I got into like the PC platform, and the PC platform back then was like the most powerful thing you could use. Um, and yeah, going forward like 10 years when I actually got to creating the OS project, or as I called it back then, ON test. It was called that for like 3 or 4 months before I actually changed the name to OS. Yeah, that was like so I really wanted to make that happen, make the game happen. And at the time, like it was when Xbox first got released and Microsoft created like the XNA framework, which was supposed to be like this shared framework where you could write code once and make it work on Windows and Xbox without jumping through any further hoops. That was one of the earliest game frameworks that really did that, like console and PC without having to rewrite the game twice. So I was really interested in just using X and A framework, and that's where the two came together. I used that as a test project to just see how far I could take it.
Okay. Cool. So yeah, go. Let's go with Alex. Do I like say the thing in the chat, or we can't hear you either. So what got you to open source OS?
The open source movement was something like I always felt strongly about just in terms of transparency as a primary driving factor. I really wanted to be able to share as much as I could with the community and with the world. It felt like the right thing to do. I say felt like because I'm not sure anymore, based on how things have gone. Um, but yeah, like because I started the game as really a hobby, and I never really expected it to become like a commercial success, if you want to put it that way. So, like as much as possible, I want to give back to the community, and giving people the ability to see how the game was made, I think, is like one of the biggest ways you could give back to um, the general populace. Just And like I kind of hope I kind of wish that I did it from day one. And even like on the company side of things, I wish that I ran the game as an like a not-for-profit organization. I didn't really know that I could have done that from the start, but like in terms of transparency, I think that would have been a very cool way to do it, just in terms of like sharing the financials of the game as well. Uh but yeah, it was all about transparency and just being able to share everything I can.
Yeah, that's quite interesting because like Hack Club, I don't know if you've seen it, but all the financials are transparent and we can like see how money is spent, and yeah, like it's really interesting. Um no, go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, like when I first set things up, it was all kind of because I'm sure you've heard me say how much I hate dealing with money. Um, so back when I was starting working on the game, like I wasn't even caring about money. I was like I had a job and I was paying for the server hosting myself. I didn't really care. Like I could have kept doing that forever, but so many people in the community were like bugging me to accept donations that I ended up doing so. And that's kind of where things spiraled out of control, I guess, because I um had so many people actually wanting to support the game. Is my video still okay?
No, it broke. Yeah,
There
it's
we go.
back. Okay.
I'm using my phone and it's not happy. Yeah. And it just there were so many people willing to throw their money at the game that I kind of had to create a company and get things like done correctly quite fast. And yeah, I didn't like at that point know my options, so I just made the easiest setup I could to, to separate the funds for the game from my own personal finances. That's yeah, basically where we are today. I'm still not willing to change things because it's a lot of effort.
Yeah. So does anyone else have any other question, or do I? Okay, yeah, go ahead, Philly.
So I have no idea if this works, but
It is. It
what
is.
was oh great. What was your biggest I guess hurdle, like an issue with like starting to program OS?
You mean on the technical side of things?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, let me have a think about that because it's been going. Do you mean like right back at the start or just to date?
I guess like at the start.
Yeah, okay. I think it's pretty common with software projects that when you start on them, like everything just seems so easy to do. Like starting from a blank slate, as soon as you like, so there's a whole thing of like choosing your frameworks and choosing your tools. And that part, if you get stuck on it, can take a long time. Like I know from experience because when we rewrote the game and stuff, it was kind of like that. But yeah, because I knew which framework I wanted to use. Um, everything moved really fast, and if I like you guys were definitely not around for that era, but I was posting like daily change logs with, you know, like one day the editor would be just a blue screen with a grid, and you would be clicking um roughly in time. There was no beat snapping, no BPM. It was just like clicking while the song's playing and making your beat maps. There was no pausing or anything. And then the next day, the editor looked proper. It had like a timing panel. You could import backgrounds. It had sliders, even though they were pretty jank back then. Uh, yeah, what I'm trying to say is that like the progress back then was very fast, and I think that's always the case with software projects is that when you're first starting on things, everything just moves so well, and it's once you start to have more systems where you've developed them and you're trying to add more and more on top, that's where things start to slow down and you realize, I actually have to plan ahead or think about the things I've already done or watch out for like scope creep. And that's where things started to get a bit hard to manage, I guess, especially as the community also grew. And like I was so enthusiastic to add everything that anyone wanted back then, and that can end up, as we've kind of seen over the years, it can end up with a lot of toggles and a lot of features which not many people use, but we still need to support because they were used once in the span of the span of the game's existence. So yeah, I'd say as we go forward, like the major hurdle for me has been managing scope and uh, maintaining backwards compatibility, which is something that's always been very important to me, is that like everything that people have created in the game should still work in the latest version of the game as much as we can afford that. Yeah, and I guess I've probably mentioned I've said that answer multiple times in the past. Like scope is hard, but if you want like a specific mechanic in the game, then sliders was the hard one. Making sliders render efficiently was something which went through multiple iterations in the early days because I was just doing the most basic thing I could to draw sliders, and it meant we couldn't do like snaking sliders because I was drawing them to a texture, and drawing to that texture was already taking like 50 milliseconds or something really insanely high. So thinking about doing it every frame was just not on the table. I had um, I had a very smart friend who majored in maths, and he helped me do the initial iteration of making that work. It was still rendering to a texture, but we were actually using a triangle path, and yeah. So TLDR, the hardest part is when you have sliders that overlap themselves and you want to make sure that the path becomes like an intersection, not half the path being behind the other path or in front. That was a hard one to solve, but we got it eventually. I think we've, even with laser, we've like rewritten how that slider generation works multiple times, and we're in a very good place these days. But there's still fixes that are coming in. It's one of the harder parts of the OS gameplay loop to render.
All right. So, if anyone wants to raise their hand, or we go through the chat. Okay, I assume we go through the chat. So Javi asks, I'm very interested at your no AI policy for O's. Here at Hack Club, we're also encouraged to write most of our code by hand. How do you think this technology will be used in the future, especially in game development?
Yeah, it's the topic of the century, isn't it? Everyone has their opinion on AI, and I've um I've kind of held back sharing mine too much because I know it's all very subjective, and also like I meet up with my real life friends once a month recently just to keep everyone in touch, and I'm always like counting how long into our conversations we can last before we loop back to AI and how it's affecting software development, destroying our jobs, or potentially destroying the planet. Who knows? Um, there, there was a period back when like LLMs first gained some popularity where I was actually quite optimistic about the technology. And like I'm talking back with ChatGPT 2, 3 era. And it all seemed like, yeah, a pretty cool thing to be exploring to me. But I think the turning point for me was the I guess when they started to train on open source data, and we started to, I mean, initially we started to see this affect artists, and just in the last probably 6 to 8 months, I think it's really started to uh, reshape the software development side of things. So yeah, our policy is basically no, we don't use AI, and no one on the team, luckily, is really interested in using AI. So that hasn't been like a point of contention. But also, like, if we get community contributions that are clearly done using AI, we'll just close them on the spot. And um, I think it's obvious that the technology is very powerful these days, and who knows where it's going to go from here. Like, there's two schools of thought, whether it's limited by the amount of training data or whether it's somehow going to get beyond that in terms of the ability to, self learn in some way. I'm no expert in the field, so I can't really comment on that, but it's already clear that it's kind of it doesn't seem to be a positive thing for society, just in the ways it's actually being sold to us, like not in terms of financially, but these large companies like forcing it into every aspect of our lives. So yeah, I don't know. Um I'll have to ask the original question again, but basically my thoughts are that I kind of want to just like I got into software development for the interest of writing code and for actually feeling that 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 being able to take something in your mind and create a result on the screen that matches your intentions, and being able to do that yourself rather than just like asking a computer to do it for you. That's the part that really got me into software development, and it's still the part that keeps me writing software and keeps me working on the game, is that gratification you get from that loop. And I feel like LLM usage just takes that away. Like I mean, I've tried using it. I do use LLMs for like writing bash scripts and stuff where stuff which I'm not gonna commit on GitHub. It's not like I'm gonna ever share it with anyone as my own code, but for doing like basic workflow stuff, I have used it. So I've seen like how powerful it can be, and also how badly it can make mistakes at times because you kind of still, at least last time I used AI, which wasn't recently. I've kind of completely stopped because I just don't like the concept anymore. But I think that part's improved. I don't think it makes as many mistakes these days because we see people like making pull requests on the OS project, and it's at the point where like people can develop features for the game faster than we can. And most of the time it's, they might require some fixes and sometimes it's just completely off the mark. But when it gets it right, we look at the GitHub history of someone that's posted a feature request, and it's like this is the first thing they've ever posted to GitHub. They're using a framework that we wrote from scratch over 4 years. Feels like we should know it more than anyone. And suddenly this person comes out of nowhere and writes this feature for the game, and it's like that's 2,000 lines of code with maybe five things we would need to point out and review. And it would take us like days to write that, and they've probably just written it in 5 minutes. And it's just like it doesn't feel right. Maybe that's like, you'll have the AI bros or people that are all for this technology be like, you're anti-progress. What are you doing? Just accept those people's PRs. And to an extent, that's like a hard one to get past because if I'm here being like I want to give the community the best experience in the game that I can, and how do you like argue that I shouldn't use AI because I don't want to, even though if I was, I could maybe deliver 10 times or 100 times the features to the users. So that's a bit of like an edge case, which I still think about sometimes. But yeah, that's let me know if I didn't answer any aspect of the question or if there's any follow-ups.
Um, we'll keep that for now. So anyone raise his hand, but for now, Alex asks, how do you deal with tech debt? With tech debt? Oh my god! Wow, it's 1 a.m.
That, that's a hard one to say, isn't it? Tech debt. Um, Well, yeah, I mean the best example of that is that at some point in 2017, we had so much tech debt, and people. I've seen the whole thing where people call us stable like spaghetti code. I don't know where that came from. Like I don't even know what spaghetti code is. I think you have to go out of your way to write spaghetti code. But anyway, the all stable project definitely has a lot of tech debt, and that's why we decided to rewrite it. And there was a whole saying, and I don't know if this still is a common thing to say these days, but like software projects have an end of life. It's like 5 or 10 years. You really do need to rewrite software because assuming it's software which is evolving over time based on user requirements, it it it's it makes more sense to like just build up tech debt than be like, oh, yep, let's rewrite it, get rid of the stuff that doesn't matter anymore. And we've got 5 years of experience under our belt. We can do it better the second time. And it's also, I think, the concept of rewriting a project is very satisfying as a developer. It keeps your mind switched on. You're no longer like when you have like a game like Ostable at that point was 10 years in, and I know it like the back of my hand, and I can still like, for instance, just last week I went back into Stable to add a display at song select when a beat map can only be played on laser, because we're starting to think about adding new mechanics to the game, and I wanted to make sure that people loading beat maps into Stable would know that it's not going to work well there. And yeah, going back and looking at Stable, it's like very easy to work with. I haven't really touched the code for more than a few days every year. And I can just go back and it's like, yeah, mindless typing away and making things work and adjusting sprites. And I have all the Photoshop, the PSD files with the sprites. And, I did all the designs for Stable myself back then. So it's all like so ingrained in my mind that like I can basically just switch off and do stuff. And rewriting a project kind of keeps that the loop of learning new things and trying new things and doing things a different way just because uh you know with all the experience you have, maybe you think it's going to work better a different way this time around. And yeah, that's kind of the biggest example of managing tech debt that I have. And also like so with laser we went full in on like OOP and making things like as object oriented as possible. And a few years in, we realized we probably overdid it. So we've kind of pushed back on that. But also just with the rewrite with laser, we have like because I have more experience now with writing with managing software projects over many years. I had a better idea of how to handle tech debt and better scoping feature requests, better being able to say no when something doesn't make sense, isolating different systems more, so there's not a lot of spaghetti code or crosstalk between systems, so that when one system needs to be rewritten, you can just basically like slot it out and slot it back in with a new version. Kind of what we did with in Laser when we redid the song select design. It was very easy to do because we could just be like, okay, here's the old one, here's the new one. We can start implementing the new one on the side and gradually switch things over. And each of the actual components in song select, we could just be like, oh, we can reuse this one, so we'll just bring that one over directly. On the ones we couldn't reuse, we just rewrite them. And yeah, it all kind of fits together when you have these like building block elements or modular elements that you can separate from each other. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Wait a sec, cause my Zoom just stopped displaying video.
Oh,
Um,
hopefully that's not
yeah.
my end.
No, it's my end. It's saying it's in picture mode anyway. So a quick question. Tabs for spaces.
I'm surprised that one still comes up in 2026. Um, yeah, we use spaces because it formats better in things like Git command line, or it just converts better when using various different editors. We used to use tabs back when everyone was on Visual Studio. But yeah, yeah. I guess tabs. The whole argument of tabs is it means that people can adjust how wide they want the tabs. But editors these days handle all that behind the scenes. Even if you have spaces, the editor can adjust these days. So yeah.
And Feely asks, how many spaces?
Or as a C sharp person, it's the answer has to be four there because
Yeah.
C sharp as a language is uh oh yeah, and like C sharp. So I've been using C sharp since the day of its release, or even before that. Like my friend and I printed out the white paper for C sharp back when it was like just a proposed thing. Microsoft released their white paper. It was like 280 pages, and we were at high school at the time, and we just found a printer which is like um the least supervised printer in the school and sent the print job for two copies of this white paper, one for each of us, and waited for 560 pages to print and then read through it all like religiously. So I've been around with C sharp and like really I really like what they were doing there. Back like the alternatives were probably Java or C++, but it was a managed language and it was like all the hype at the time. So and the thing with C Sharp is Microsoft has always pushed very stringent code style guidelines for it. So that's why I'm very much like able to say four spaces is the answer, because that's kind of what Microsoft have always used in their code styling guidelines.
Cool. So Max wants to ask another question while I fix my Zoom. Oh my god.
Oh yeah. So I just wanted to like show something I've worked on before. It's kind of related to O's, but not exactly O's. So basically I've when I was like bored, I tried to think around stuff to like make something. So I couldn't think of something. So I said, what if I like try to remake O's in like a game engine like Unity? I haven't gotten around it for like a lot. But I did manage to have some progress. I sent the Git in the chat, the GitHub in the chat. Uh, I did manage to like read the OS v3 file, and that's mostly the progress I've done. That's I just wanted to share that.
Yeah, I'll have a read through it afterwards, but that's cool. When you say V3 file, is that the latest version or?
Yeah, the ones used to store bitmaps.
Yeah, yeah. No, cool stuff. That's one of the questions that I've always had for myself is like, we rewrote we wrote the OS framework engine ourselves from scratch, and that arguably set us back like a couple of years. And I've always had the question of like, what if we used Unity? Could it have been a better option? Especially for one of the
Oh
reasons
no.
we one of the reasons we went with writing the framework ourselves was uh to get better cross-platform support and eventually get a mobile release out. And Unity kind of does that for you. But also, like my feeling was that Unity wasn't really a good engine to make a rhythm game happen on, and like with us, there's a lot of very custom stuff going on and very tight timings, and also OS doesn't really share much with other games in terms of game mechanics. It feels like Unity is maybe more geared towards like standard game projects, if that makes sense. Um, so yeah, I'm interested to see what you have and like how low level you had to go to make it work, how much like custom stuff there is.
Actually, not that much. I'm just like trying to like split the file and stuff, trying to turn it to JSON maybe.
Yeah.
But I didn't work on it a lot, but I just saw that it's like something I had to share.
Yeah, I mean that's the best place to start with making games is just to find a game that you like and try and do it yourself and see how far you get. Um,
Yeah. There are also like I have no idea about hardware, but we've got a few hardware programs, and there's like someone who couldn't make it to this AMA, but he made a credit card sized taiko simulator like that you can play. Wait, let me send the image through the chat if it lets me. There we go. Um and I felt like it's really cool. There are also like a lot of people who do keypads for the game, like their own keypads and stuff. So yeah, I just wanted to show you that we've got a really small community of us players in Hack Club.
yeah, I like that card project. You see, a lot of the like the hacker conventions do that thing where like the name badges becomes like an interactive piece these days. So yeah, I think this would be like the perfect thing for like an OS convention where you were distributing like badges, access cards or something. I also like that the D and the K and the name are highlighted. Very cool. Yeah,
Um,
I love I haven't like had too much time to dabble with hardware, but you probably saw I did the OS arcade at some point in the past, and hardware is so much fun to play around with as well.
oh yeah, I actually wanted to ask. Sorry, I'll go with others, but how's what happened to the Oz Arcade? Because I really like Oz Stream and like how the concept was like so original, and I always like thought about what happened to the arcade.
As in the physical units.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still one of my friends in Australia has one, and I have the other one here in Japan. Just gathering dust right now, but I haven't turned it on recently. The main issue is that the LED, the strip lighting, the RGB lighting I was using, which like syncs up with the gameplay via an Arduino USB link. That strip lighting has it's made with that really like Chinesium like rubber coating, and it's thick rubber. Like the LED strips are basically embedded in this like 2 centimeter thick rubber, and it's gone really sticky, and it's all over the system. So I'd need to clean it out first, because every time I touch it, my hands just get so yuck.
I also saw that you like had to make a fork of the game, so that was really interesting. Anyway, um, so have you had any? No, so Alex asks, have you had any Linus Torvalds level crash outs ever? People contributing to the OS code base.
Um, yeah, probably, probably multiple times. And not always me, other devs on the team as well. But I think the biggest one that I can recall is back in our stable times. Back then we didn't really have a review process in place, and well, for the first like 6 or 7 years, it was just me writing code. But as it happens with projects of this size, you do have really like competent people wanting to help you out. So I did gradually let others in on the private repository. And one of the guys, um, Wok 2006, who basically spearheaded the whole Mania implementation himself. Um, yeah, he got that running really fast, which is a really interesting one, because I made the taiko and the fruits catch the beat rule set myself. But he came in and made Mania, which I'm like question how that happened, because I got into rhythm gaming originally playing Beat Mania, so it feels like the kind of thing I would have wanted to do myself. So I'm not sure why I was like okay with someone else coming in and doing that. But anyway, let's so he came in, and yeah, that he made that work really well. But there was no code review, so I kind of looked over what he was doing and just made sure he wasn't doing anything really like becoming a security issue or anything. But at some point, like months into the development of Mania, I had to work with his code more. I think it was on the editor side of things, and I was like, uh, I was just reading through, and it was some of the code was written so different to how myself and one of the other guys that was helping out at the time were writing code. I was just like, what is this code? It's like I think I called it shit or something. And whatever I said was enough to piss him off, and he like left the project at that point, just from one thing I said. It wasn't even like I rage quit or anything on him, but he went off to make his own rhythm game like from that point forward. And I think it's still pretty successful. Melody is the game he's working on. Yeah.
Interesting. Um, so I think if anyone wants to raise their hand, it's their time, it's their moments. While Peppy fixes his camera, which died again.
Yeah, it fixes itself. I don't know what's going on there. It's
Yeah.
the I think it's my Wi-Fi or
Okay.
something.
I guess not. So here I go again. Oh, Max again. Okay.
Wait, is this a quick one? How many people like is on the OS team? Like,
On the development side of things.
I think yeah,
So working on the OS client, we have like there's three of us, including myself, that basically do full time. And then there's another two or three community contributors, which when they're not doing university and other life commitments, they are also helping out pretty much full time, or they have at some point in the past few years. Yeah, we have people coming and going. And then on the website of things, there's two, and yeah, that's basically the whole development team. We also have people like Hyvie that help out with a lot of the community stuff these days, and it's really interesting to see like people that have helped with the game and not necessarily been a developer have also got into development over the years just to help out where they can. So like Hyvie is one really good example where they're actually creating like full standalone web systems that keep the game and the community running smoothly these days. Just stuff like to do with beatmap nomination or managing of the community teams or anything like that. So yeah,
Uh,
we're still a pretty smallish team, and I think these days, if anything, I would probably want to downscale further. Like I definitely wouldn't be interested in adding any new members to the team because managing teams is hard.
yeah. Do you think that like making it open source has pushed the development of OS any faster? Like
See,
contribution and
yeah,
stuff, like besides the bad ones, like
yeah.
do you think it has pushed it any faster, or is it like um did it just make it more of a hurdle to be open source?
See, when we made the project, when I made the project open source, that was one of the things I was like, yeah, anyone can contribute. It's gonna speed things up. But then you realize that if you actually want to maintain standards in terms of just code quality and also scope, uh, you're kind of limited in how much you can accept from outside developers. And you also realize that, if you've been working with a language and with a project for over a decade, you can usually write stuff faster than you can review other people's code and fix it along the way. So I don't think that making Oz open source, I don't think that the incoming, like, if you look at a snapshot today of the incoming open source contributions, I don't think it's speeding up development. What I can say though is that some of the most competent developers we have on the team these days come from the game being open sourced. So if that didn't happen, we may not have seen that talent ever arrive. And like I'm pretty sure like Spaceman Atlas, one of the guys that is basically a core team member these days, I don't think he was even an OS player when he found the project on GitHub. He was just like looking for something to do, and that was one of the projects that came up. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's his backstory. So like just the fact that he's now on the core team and that happened because of open source, I think that made it a worthwhile endeavor. But
Right.
yeah, yeah, I don't know. Like these days, and especially with the whole AI side of things, when we get pull requests, most of the time, yeah, we can write it faster ourselves, or we see pull requests and people are like trying to add things to the game where they haven't even asked if we want that in the game yet. And we have in our README that very, very clearly, like if you want to add a new feature to the game, make sure to make an issue first, just so we can make sure everyone's on board and not waste your time or our time with the review and the coding process if it's something that we don't think can get merged in the first place. Um, yeah.
Okay. So let's go with Xiangkun.
All right, so I'm going with the community side. You've been like closing source o stable, and people demanded it to be open source from the forums. Why do you keep it closed source in the first place for at least for stable?
Yeah. There's like the original reasoning I had for that was I just wasn't, and this is something that every developer can probably understand is you're not really proud of of code that you wrote 10 years ago. You kind of look back on it and it's just not written in the way you would these days. And I think that was the driving factor for me in not open sourcing stables. I just didn't want I wasn't proud of the code I wrote. And um yeah, and these days, like why would I not do it in 2026? Well, I don't think it's a good direction in terms of how to put this. Like we're still running stable alongside Laser, and we intend to keep doing that as long as the community needs it. But I also feel like if we open source stable, there's going to be a large group of people and a large group of people using AI agents that are going to take stable and maybe develop it further than Laser is these days, or like re-implement Laser in stable overnight because you can kind of do that because the AI is trained off the Laser code base. I don't see that as being a productive path, and I do know that there are people that have reverse engineered the stable code base, and they've already made their own private forks, which they're distributing to users and telling people not to tell me about because they think I'm going to take action against it. But people are going to do what they want, regardless of whether I open source the project or not. So I don't think it matters that much. And I do think that I will eventually open source stable, just like I did with Ostream, when it can be seen as like a relic of the past and maybe a piece of software, a piece of code which can be used to learn from examples of how things were done in a past time or why things were done, trying to looking back at old software and being like, it was written for a very different era of hardware, a very different performance target, very different ecosystem, less caring about security and stuff like that. Um, when it can become that kind of relic, I'll definitely be interested in open sourcing it. But while it is a live project, I don't think I will. I think Laser is the place that we focus on for making things transparent.
All right. So, does anyone else, or I go with Alex's? I guess we'll go with Alex's. So, why did you decide to do this AMA? And did you know about Hack Club before this?
Yeah, I'd never heard of Hack Club. But yeah, I looked at the website and it just seems like a really cool thing to do. Like I'm always uh really enthusiastic about sharing the passion of software development, or just not even just software development, just like the hacking culture, the whole the hobby of following technology and everything that comes with it. I'm passionate about sharing that with people, and yeah, this is the kind of interview that I really like to do because like all the questions you guys have given me today have been amazingly like on topic and stuff that I'm interested to talk about as well. And yes, it's the kind of thing that I think having spent so many years and hundreds, thousands of hours of my life doing this, it's like it's worthwhile to share like my view from where I am on this very isolated software project in the scheme of things. It's just a clicking circle game that somehow still has 3 million active users. So I think sharing that perspective, especially with like uh, groups that care about it, like you guys, I think that's such a cool thing to do. Like I very much appreciate people reaching out to me with like interview requests like this.
Oh, so yeah, thank you for coming here. Another question do you guys have? Or I go, oh, okay, Feely. You're muted, by the way. Um, can can you please say when you see it? Please, please, please.
When you see it. Do I have to do that? Yeah.
Okay. Uh so well, it's crazy.
That
It's
meme,
crazy that
sorry. That
No,
that
no, go
meme is
ahead, go
not
ahead.
lost on me, by the way. Every time I see that number, that cursed number, every time I see it, I can't help but be like, ah, there it is.
And you made it.
Well,
Uh,
not me specifically, but yeah, the community.
yeah, you made it happen.
Mm.
Like technically, yeah. Um, wow. Okay, so I was thinking about like I think you have like high Japanese proficiency, right? Because I've been I've been dabbling into the language, and I wanted to know like what your tips for learning this language would be.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I guess I was highly proficient at one point. Like I did study Japanese as one of my majors in university, so and then I also did like 4 or 5 months studying abroad. That was all a very good experience. And like if anyone like has the opportunity to study abroad, I think it's a very eye-opening experience. Not just in terms of like the education side of things, but just experiencing a different culture and experiencing um, the different ways things are taught in different countries. That was very eye-opening to me. But yeah, tips for learning the language. I think as a software developer, Japanese is a very easy language to learn because it's very pragmatic. All the grammar structures, there's not that much grammar to learn. Like you can,
Yeah,
if
yeah.
you, yeah, if you ignore vocabulary, you can pick up all the grammar in maybe a few weeks, and even the advanced stuff. It's all uh, pretty simple. I don't want to like make it sound like the language is easy to learn because the vocab and the kanji side of things are a pain in the ass. But yeah, that's what I think that's one of the reasons I enjoyed. Like I stuck with Japanese back in high school. We had to choose a language, and I think the choices differ between different high schools. But I had the choice of like French, Italian, Japanese, and Japanese just seemed like the best fit. Um, this was before I even got into like Japanese culture. And yeah, it kind of just stuck with me because like it was like learning a programming language, and I felt like even compared to English, the formation, the structure of sentences is just really nice to my brain. Uh, so yeah, the grammar stuff, I think you just need to get a decent book and go through all the different structures. And I know during my actual like classes, we used to just have textbooks which were news articles, and we would just like dissect them into all the different vocabulary and the grammar that are used within. I think you can apply that to things that you're interested in as well, like not necessarily news articles because that's pretty boring, but like just finding, manga or short stories or anything that really tickles your fancy, and then start, even if it's way above your level, your skill level, just go through it, piece by piece until you can understand larger pieces. And yeah, the other thing is, uh, have you heard of the system Wanikani? It's like an
Yeah.
online, yeah, like what's it, structured repetition learning. I think that works quite well, and I have some friends that have like overtaken me in terms of proficiency, at least on the vocabulary side of things, just by using a system like that. So if you like need something more stringent,
Like
then yeah.
I think like Wanikani is like for learning kanji, and then it's Anki. I think that's the app you're looking for.
Yeah, yeah. So I used to use Anki back in the day. That's been around since I was a kid. And I used to actually learn Japanese by having Anki on a Palm Pilot, if you know what that is.
Oh,
It's like a handheld black and white device, which
Yeah.
existed back before smartphones did. So yeah, I had Anki loaded on there with an SD card with all my Japanese flashcards loaded. You had to create them on a PC and then transfer them across. There was no way to add them on the device itself. And I also this was back before Google Maps existed. So on like I really like that Palm Pilot device. And I really like I was so into tech back then, and it was just I'm kind of like sad that you guys maybe can't experience tech back in those days when there was so much cool stuff happening. These days, nothing. I'm I'm so like disillusioned with tech these days, and I don't know if maybe I can get some like feedback from you guys whether it's the same for you, because like nothing cool is really happening anymore. Everything is already in a final end game state. Like we have smartphones that can do everything, and it's all just like software these days on the hardware side of things. Just nothing is really exciting anymore.
Yeah, and it's not changing.
Hmm.
Yeah. Um I was going I was okay, so anybody raise their hand or something? Uh or we'll go with Alex's question. So do you still have LAN parties?
Um. Up until like uh 3 or 4 years ago, I used to go back to Australia for one which we had over there called RF LAN, Western Australia. So I would go back for each one of those, but they stopped happening. And I guess during COVID kind of killed a lot of things, and LAN parties were one of the things that killed in its wake. So no, I guess I can't answer yes to that anymore, but we were until recent years. And it was always fun to go back because there would be more every time I went back, there was more and more people playing us, and
Oh,
like no one expected me to be there. So it was always like, holy Peppy is here. That's so cool. And eventually, like I started to take stickers back and stuff because I knew people were going to be there, and I wanted to give out some Oz merch. But yeah, it doesn't really happen anymore. And my friend group is split across multiple countries now, so that makes it hard. We still have gaming sessions, but they're all online these days.
yeah. Um okay, so I back to software development. How do you think and dissect more complex things like the infrastructure and game mechanics when the development of ranked play started?
So yeah, ranked play. Smoogie Poo, one of the other developers on the core team, kind of handled the implementation side of things. But I do know that, like, I can talk from an outside perspective that throughout the whole implementation of that system, he was always struggling with that exact thing, like how to scope out the different requirements and implement things in a way that didn't suck. And it's interesting to like have someone on the core team still experience those same concerns, which kind of don't go away. You write your own framework and you're like, I have everything in the correct place. I know how to do things. Then you go to implement like a huge system like rank plan. It's like, oh, yeah, you really have to take a step back and maybe the hardest part is making a start on the system because you're like, there's so many things that need to be done in certain ways, and like I don't know which part to start on first because if I do the wrong thing, then I might end up with like a really badly written system, a badly integrated system, or this can't be used going into the future when we decide to make further changes to the system. Um, so there was like, and if you remember back during there was the announcement that rank play was kind of going to happen, or quick play as it was back then, and then it kind of just like stalled. And one of the reasons it stalled is uh the transition from quick play to rank play being like, how much do we want to keep of the quick play system? Like, do we want to copy paste all the code into the rank play system just so we can potentially make quick play run again in the future if we want to? Um, Yeah, what I want to say is like that there was a lot of like just limbo time trying to trying to help Smoogie like figure out the correct way to go forward with implementation there. And at the end of the day, I think the best advice I have is for like a large new system, you just have to start somewhere, like start anywhere. And like once the ball starts rolling, you kind of get a better idea of the best path to take going forward. And maybe you might have to rewrite something along the way because you did it wrong. Like the first thing you started on was like completely incorrect or doesn't doesn't work well with the other parts of the system. But I think the worst thing you can do as a software developer is just sit staring at a blank screen, wondering like the best approach to something. I think that's just wasted time. Like I'm talking about like spending hours or days doing that because I'm sure everyone here who's tried to write new software projects has been in that state. It's like, should I use um, Unity or Unreal, or should I use this language or that language, or like should I use this audio library or that audio library? And at the end of the day, I
Yeah, we
think
keep arguing with that.
I think you just have to choose something and go with it. And if it doesn't stick, then switch. Like at the end of the day, you're saving time by immediately making a choice there rather than dwelling on the issue.
Cool. So thanks for that. um, so Alex asks, what was the biggest problem you have run into in OS development?
All the big problems we've had have been related to running the game as a community, whether that be like people DDoSing the game or people doing stupid stuff, having to scale the game when COVID happened. Like we hit four to eight times the original maximum concurrent users for a period, and it went up so fast that keeping up with that was very, very much a struggle. But in terms of like, if we're focusing on the development side of things, um, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, all the like struggles that come to my mind are things that happened in the community and just like dealing with the fallout from them rather than actually having a specific development task, which was a struggle. Maybe that's just because all the development struggles have kind of been fun things to take on, and therefore they haven't stuck in my mind as much. But yeah,
Yeah,
I can't really think of anything specifically that stands out in the grand scheme of things.
interesting. So I wanted to ask, because on the original email I sent you about the COE 2022 interview you did with the Poon about um, infrastructure, and I wanted to ask you specifically, like, how oh god, okay, sorry, it's 1 a.m. I can't really focus. Oh, it's 2 actually. Okay. Um, have costs go down since then?
Um, yeah, that's a very good question, especially since like costs went up really high during COVID as we had to expand things out, and they haven't really come back down. And part of the reason for that is, I think, the fact that we're basically running two games at once, Stable and Laser, and a lot of the systems we made that support Laser run separate from Stable, and maybe, well, definitely they're not as optimized as they are for Stable because I wrote Stable and like as we call it internally, Web 1.0, the original web side of the API side of things. Wrote those we wrote those projects targeting very different hardware and very different performance specs. Like I had the whole OS infrastructure for the longest time running on like a single PC. Um, so when you write software with the optimization in mind from the start, you're really able to um, avoid high running costs. But with the OSWeb project and with Laser and uh, Server Spectator, which is the new Banjo, the game server project, um, I don't think we're anywhere near the level of optimization that we have for the older projects. So the cost of running them, the ongoing cost of running them is just like we need higher spec servers to make that work. And yeah, that cost hasn't really gone down. Although, like, I will say that last week I finished some really large work on the infrastructure side of things, and if you watch the latest laser release video, then you'll know what I'm
Oh
talking
yeah, yeah.
about. That the changes there have definitely reduced costs. Like, I think was able to reduce the database servers like one or $2,000 a month worth, and that was just from um, finally being able to optimize some tables that I've been looking to for the longest time, and also just moving some servers in the process across to cheaper hosting plans. Not using cloud servers for the places where performance and reliability are not a huge issue. And also, like, even because our tiny office space we have has pretty good internet and power, like reliability wise. So I have gradually been moving more of the like offline processing tasks there because it's so much cheaper than running things using even rental dedicated servers, but especially cloud servers. Cloud servers are just insanely expensive these days. Um, with good reason. Like I'm still not willing to move the majority of the infrastructure away from cloud because it buys you so much flexibility, and DigitalOcean like still have the best customer support of any server hosting that we've dealt with. So yeah.
Interesting. So talking about, do you think, for example, like server spectator, I think I recall it's written in C sharp, like as always.
Correct, yeah.
I wanted to ask, like, uh, do you think other programming languages that could be like faster and have better garbage collection bring down costs?
No, no, I don't think I think C sharp is up there uh in terms of high performance languages. And especially for server side tasks, the amount of the online world which is running on ASP.NET is much higher than you might expect, and because there's so many enterprise customers on board, Microsoft has had the funding to optimize the hell out of that system. So while looking at the laser client, you might be able to have the opinion that the garbage collection in .NET is bad. And as you've probably seen, we're using like a custom one right now,
Yeah.
which is targeting like low latency sustained performance better than Microsoft have ever done. But for any kind of batch tasks or even like Windows form level interactive UI applications, the garbage collection is a non-issue. Like the only reason we have issues with garbage collection is because it sometimes takes 20 milliseconds to run. And for server tasks, 20 milliseconds is nothing. And especially uh, when you're running on servers where RAM is not an issue either, you can set the garbage collection to a more parallel mode, which we can't use for the game client itself. And that means it doesn't block all threads. It only blocks a single thread at a time. So you don't have these stopping the world garbage collection events in the first place. And yeah, so if you understand that garbage collection is not an issue on server side, then everything else is already same level of performance as any other compiled language out there. And also, like,
Interesting.
if you like geeking out over performance stats and just seeing like benchmarks and stuff, make sure you go and read the .NET performance blog. It's one of the funnest things that I read. It's like and you show this to a normal person, they will like roll their eyes, but it's like every release of .NET they do like literally a 10 or 20 page documentation of all the performance improvements, all the garbage collection improvements that they put into the .NET runtime. And it's got full benchmarks, like a table per benchmark where you can see the comparison of previous versions. And they also like it's all open source, so you can drill into the code there. But it's what I wanted to say is like when you read that blog, you see how much of a commitment Microsoft have to keeping .NET as like such a high performance language, and it's cool to see that they still have areas they can improve things or push things further, and they're not slowing down. Like every release recently has been on like a sample project, it's like 20 or 30% improvement across the board, and that's like insane to me.
Interesting. Yeah. So Alex asks, what OS do you use? And I wanted to add, because not many people here know that you don't use a mouse when doing development. So yeah.
I have a well, I have a mouse here because I'm at home and like I use a mouse for gaming here. But yeah, just knocked something over and I don't know where it went. Oh, there it is. Okay. Yeah, so I use Mac OS on my main work PC, and I also use Mac OS on a MacBook for my portable these days. I use Windows 11 on my gaming PC. And that's pretty much it these days. In the past, I've used every operating system over the years, like literally every operating system. I used to OSs was one of my passions as a kid. Like I've tried everything from like OS2 to every Linux distribution. Like I literally went through every Linux distribution that was available in the 90s just to see the different takes they had on the default window manager setups they had. It's like Red Hat Debian, CentOS, all Mint Linux, BSD, everything. Um, and I also, funny fact, back when I was like really young, high school, I guess, before us, I used to um follow like Windows beta releases, and I had like a Windows XP fan site, which was like the number one used fan site in the world, and that was like a huge project. Like it was a forum set up back then, but the whole internet ran on forums, and I had the biggest one for like just discussing Windows as an operating system. So I got pretty deep into like the Windows beta, Windows XP beta, and also going to like Windows Whistler, which was the thing after Windows XP, before, somewhere in between, before.
I think it's the beta of
Yeah.
XP.
Yeah, back before they skinned it as a colorful kids' playground. Whistler was actually a very professional looking visual take on it, but never really made it to light of day. Yeah, so I ran that site, and I think I had a few too many patches on there, and maybe at some point I shared a serial number for the betas just to help people get them running. And Microsoft sent me a cease and desist. So I that yeah, interesting times. I over the years like and I kind of can't show much of this because I don't really have an archive copy, unfortunately. Over the years, things just disappear. But I ran a lot of different websites over the years, and like I had Nintendo 64 fan sites, which were like pretty predominant back in that era. There was a lot of stuff I did where like I was able to share things online that at the time I was the only one doing so back in early internet days. Um, but yeah, so what I've used every OS. I mained Linux for like I mained Linux for like six years plus. I used Mac OS back in the early days. I never really owned a Mac before OS 10, but I had friends with all the older Macs and like System 7 to System 9, and I think using Macs back then really ingrained some very good UI UX that stuck with me to this day. And um yeah, yeah. And like I could talk about this all day. Like back in Windows those days there were like ways you could replace the Explorer.exe shell with custom shells, and you could like skin the whole system to basically look like anything. It was such a fun time. Um, so I made quite a few skins for Windows. There was a company called Stardock which released all these hacks for Windows, like window blinds and other stuff, which did cool stuff. And like I made my own operating system at a time. It was called Triangle OS, uh, like triangle, but triangle. Maybe that's why there's triangles in laser. Um, it wasn't anything special, but like that's how deep I was into like the OS side of things. I really enjoy, and I'm not talking about like the low level stuff. I was always about the UI experience, the front end, and yeah, that's you can probably tell all this by just looking at what OS is these days and how much time and effort I put into the actual the UI UX side of things. It's almost like the game is like just a small portion of this like mini operating system that is OS laser.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um. Okay. So I think like if anyone else wants to ask any more questions. Oh, there we go, Feely. You're muted again. Do you have any tips for writing good code?
Hmm. I'm not even sure where to start with that. I think no, I don't. I think the only tip I can give you is that keep writing code because the more you write, the better you get. You kind of it's a self-learning process where you figure out like what actually feels good, especially when you have to go back and read your own code and you're like, what the hell was I thinking back then? That's like
Yeah.
the best part of the best part of coding is the self-improvement part. I think there's just so much room for uh retrospective views on what you've done in the past and being able to just be like, yeah, no, I'm not doing it that way again. It's one of the things that keeps me going as a software development. I think that's a sentiment that a lot of others share.
Okay, cool. So before you leave, I'm not exactly sure if anyone else is going to ask questions, but I wanted to ask you because we've been trying for about like since the team's feature has been created, we've been trying to create a new team called Hack Club, and apparently Hack is not allowed, so we cannot create Hack Club. Just so you
Yeah,
know, wink, wink.
yeah, I can make that happen. If you already have a team, just send me an email and I'll rename it for you.
Okay, I'll create it later, and
Yeah.
I'll yeah. Okay, thank you so much. Um, any other questions?
Another question, but I was wondering, can I get supporter?
Wait, you just want me to throw you? See, man, I get that question once in a while, and it's just like, well, the whole concept of the supporter is that it's supposed to be something you get in exchange for like supporting the project. So it feels really weird to just give someone supporter. So the answer there is no, unless you've you know participated in a tournament where it's on offer or something. There's occasionally times where we do give it out, or yeah,
Yeah, yeah, I was just joking. I was
yeah,
just seeing what if it
yeah.
happened.
Um. Wow, I was going to ask another question, but we could go like the entire day, and I know you're busy, so yeah. Um. Dang. Okay, I had a really good question.
Go on. Last question.
Last question.
Or
Okay,
did you
if
did you lose it?
I lost it, but like if someone else
Right.
wants to take over, they can go ahead.
Yeah, you
Um.
said you're tired because it's 1 a.m. or 2 a.m., but I also my sleep pattern is really broken right now, so I haven't slept yet from yesterday. So it's like it's 9
Oh
a.m., but
wow.
I'm also like ready to get
So you've pulled an all nighter
afternoon.
then.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
It's
Okay.
one of those things like enjoy the fact that you can like do multiple all-nighters in a row and just like survive off caffeine while you're young because that doesn't stay around forever. Your
um.
your body does catch up if you abuse it too much over the
Yeah.
years.
Okay. Let's go with when's your next cycling blog post?
Ah, that's a very
That
out
one
there
was
question.
fun. It was the first thing I read off my Kindle.
Oh yeah, nice. Hopefully not the last thing you read. Um, e- um, I have multiple which I've like done up notes for, but I struggle to finish a blog post. And like I did another really long trip with the same friend that I wrote that original blog post from, and that was last year. Uh, the first time I did the blog post took me like 8 months to post after the trip, and it's probably going to take about the same this time. I was actually thinking of doing it in a video form instead of written form this time, and just the guy that I did the trip with, get him to sit down and go through things. And I probably will still do that. It might even be an interactive thing we do on Twitch or something. Because we have like this time we did the trip, we have more footage than last time. Like I had an action camera, I had um a more accessible like digital camera on me. So there's a lot of video and photo footage that we haven't gone through ourselves, and I think it would be really fun to go through that and share it with other people. Share that experience of just like reminiscing over the trip, but also discussing stuff that happened along the way because there was a lot of interesting and maybe scary stuff that happened during the trip. So yeah, I'll try and make that happen, but keep an eye on. See, the other weird thing is like I don't know how to share things online anymore because I like in the current state of the internet, I'm like less. I'm less likely to share things like personal stuff online than ever. It just feels like the the people the vast majority of the online community isn't really interested in that kind of stuff in the first place. And the people that are, well, the things that are interested is the AI, the scraping of your blog that happens. So it's like almost feels like sharing these experiences just with real life friends is the more gratifying thing to do these days. But um, so what I was going to say is like I do plan on doing that, but I'm not sure where I'll share it or where I'll even share the fact that I'm doing it. So I guess the best thing I can say is watch my Twitch channel PPY, maybe follow that because I would definitely say something on a live stream there if I do end up doing something.
All right. Cool. So I think we're done for tonight. I'm gonna hit the bed. Um. So thank you so much, Peppy, for coming to this AMA. And yeah, I hope you sleep.
Yeah, same to you. Have a good sleep. Thanks again for inviting me,
Yeah.
and thanks to everyone for the questions. That was good.
Yeah, thank you for coming. Bye, Peppy.
Goodbye. Good
Goodbye,
night.
Peppy.
Goodbye. Wow.